Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well. To commemorate the start of the Spiral Knights LP over on the Jam channel, I thought it would be a fun idea to see how a Spiral Knight would play if they were a Paladins champion. Despite the fact that the game is unfortunately dead, it's still fun to brainstorm champion concepts. I've been itching to share Spiral Knights with all of you for a while now, so let's get started. Like previous concepts, I will share the stats first, and then explain my thought process afterwards. Keep in mind as always that numbers can be changed. It's the principle that matters. For this concept, the Spiral Knight, true to their name, will be in the Frontline class, hosting a base HP of 3,700. The Spiral Knight's weapon of choice is the Turb-million. This primary fire swings the sword once every 0.6 seconds for a 3-hit combo. Each hit deals 300 damage in a 20-unit frontal cone. On top of the melee slash, the weapon also fires off a small projectile, dealing 200 damage. There is a 1-second delay between each 3-hit combo. Holding the primary fire button will begin to charge your attack. After 3 seconds of charging, you slash forward, dealing 300 damage in a 20-unit frontal cone, and fire off a faster 500 damage piercing projectile. The Turb-million must be fully charged for those 3 seconds to execute this charged attack. Spiral Knight's first ability is Spin Sweep on a 10-second cooldown. The Spiral Knight spins 360 degrees, damaging all enemies hit in a 20-unit radius for 400 damage. Spiral Knight's second skill is Bubble Shield. Upon activation, the Spiral Knight raises and lowers their bubble shield at will. The shield has 3000 HP. The shield takes 8 seconds to regenerate from empty. Using the shield does not incur a move speed penalty. Spiral Knight's third skill is Shield Bash. After a 1-second windup, the Spiral Knight charges forward 50 units, dealing 300 damage, applying a slight knockback, and stunning opponents' hit for 1 second. This ability can only be activated while Bubble Shield is active. Spiral Knight's fourth skill is Evade on an 8-second cooldown. The Spiral Knight quickly hops 30 units in the direction they're moving. Additionally, they gain 0.25 seconds of damage immunity upon activating the skill. Spiral Knight's ultimate is the Graviton Vortex Bomb. Spiral Knight begins charging the bomb for 2.5 seconds, gaining 50% damage reduction, but losing 25% move speed while doing so. After charging, the bomb can be thrown up to 50 units away. After hitting the ground, the bomb will detonate after 0.25 seconds, creating a 30-unit vortex field. Enemies inside take 100 damage per second, are slowed by 50%, and are pulled to the bomb's center. The field lasts for 3 seconds. After those 3 seconds, the field explodes, dealing 500 damage to enemies inside. My overall goal with this concept was to create a fun brawler tank who can alternate between holding the point and pushing opponents. I ended up looking to our other shield tanks, Khan and Fernando, to base values off of. In Spiral Knights, the primary aspect of gameplay is the 3 weapon types you could switch between during a dungeon. You have swords, handguns, and bombs. My initial issue with the concept stemmed from the lack of a ranged option. Originally, I had the Peacekeeper, a rapid-firing handgun, as the secondary, but I felt that it would be too similar to Caspian. On top of that, the gun would have to be weak stats-wise to avoid creating another Storm of Bullets con. Then I remembered the Turb-million, which is the only sword in Spiral Knights that fires a projectile as its gimmick. I thought it was the perfect pick for this concept. Think of this weapon as a mash between Zin's Inferno Blade, Caspian's War Sword, and Nyx's Realm Breaker. The attack comes out in 2 parts. The melee swing hosts the majority of your damage, while the small projectiles offer Spiral Knight some low poke damage. Up close, both the melee and projectile will hit together for some nice 500 damage chunks. The 1-second downtime between attacks is to compensate for Spiral Knight's high upfront burst damage. All 3 slashes in melee range will deal a hefty 1,500 damage. That high damage is also the reason as to Spiral Knight's low base HP. Another aspect tied to all weapons in Spiral Knights is the charged attack. After attacking once, you could charge your next attack for an empowered effect. For the Turb-million in this concept, it's going to fire a higher damage slash and piercing projectile. This does come at a cost of a long 3-second charge time. Do note that you could hold this charge indefinitely, akin to Amani's Fireball. Spiral Knights players will be encouraged to charge a shot in between engages. Overall, this primary fire intends to keep Spiral Knights in the thick of it. However, they're not a complete waste at further ranges. Onto the secondary Spin Sweep. Since we have no need for a ranged secondary option, I wanted to include what's arguably Spiral Knight's most iconic charge attack. This skill is meant to be used in conjunction with his primary for a burst combo. Alternatively, you could use it when you're surrounded or when you need to squeeze damage in behind a shield. This skill doesn't boost your move speed at all. Think of it akin to a magic spin from Rivals. Now, the Bubble Shield. Another key skill in Spiral Knights is managing your shield. All shields project in a bubble around you. For Paladins, I imagine the shield being about 50% bigger than a Torvald bubble. Not big enough to block damage for the whole team, but big enough to cover an ally or two behind you. Like for Nando's shield, the skill will take you into third person. Unlike Nando, you will not suffer a move speed penalty while the shield is active, making it flexible for repositioning. Next is the Shield Bash. This ability is tied to the Bubble Shield. Another ability across all Knights. The Shield Bash in Spiral Knights allows you to stun enemies by utilizing half of your shield's HP. I figured that the 1 second windup would be sufficient by itself. Between that and the distinct sound cue, enemies will be able to avoid the stun. The 50 unit distance also allows Shield Bash to double as a move skill. As a result, it can be cancelled by cripples during the windup. Ability 3 is Evade, a simple horizontal hop in any direction. Think of it as a mini version of Omen's Dark Stride. 30 units is not far at all. However, the cooldown of the skill is very short at 8 seconds, and the ability provides a brief moment of damage immunity, allowing you to use it as a parry skill. This ability will be excellent to weave in between dangerous close-range battles, and will keep opponents on their toes. Spiral Knight's ultimate is the Graviton Vortex Bomb. In Spiral Knights, bombs are your utility weapons. Most are used to induce status effects, but one of the most popular bombs is the Graviton Vortex Bomb, due to its ability to hold monsters in place for an extended duration, allowing fellow Knights to clobber on them with a barrage of charged attacks. I wanted to keep the lengthy charge time of the bombs from Spiral Knights, but as a compensation, I granted our Paladin Spiral Knight 50% damage reduction and CC immunity while charging. Like many other ultimates, this allows them the opportunity to counter enemy CC or survive an onslaught of damage. Unlike in Spiral Knights, our Knight can toss the bomb a short distance to catch opponents at range. Think of this ultimate as a side grade to Ceres's ultimate. The goal is the same, to pull opponents together and trap them. Unlike Ceres's quick one and done pull, our Knight's bomb will linger for 3 seconds, allowing for more potential frags. This comes at a cost when compared to Ceres though. The Graviton Bomb does not stun or cripple, meaning that opponents can dash out of it. Spiral Knights will be encouraged to keep opponents in the bomb for the full 3 seconds, so they could take advantage of the bonus explosion at the end. On to Spiral Knights cards, starting with the Armor Weapons section. Health Capsule. Increase maximum HP by 150 scaling. Spark of Life. Increase the healing you receive from others by 5% scaling when below half health. Iron Heart Attack. Gain 5% damage reduction, scaling 0.5%, for 2 seconds, and heal for 75 health scaling, upon hitting an enemy 3 times in a row with the Turmilion. Pumping Up. Increase move speed by 5% for 1 second after hitting an enemy with the melee portion of the Turmilion. Now the Spin Sweep cards. Lion's Gate. Gain a 50 HP scaling shield for 3 seconds for each enemy hit with Spin Sweep. The Phantom Mask. Reduce the cooldown of Spin Sweep by 0.6 seconds scaling. Emergency Lockdown. Gain 1% scaling ultimate charge for each enemy hit with Spin Sweep. Operation Crimson Heart. Increase your move speed by 20% scaling while Spin Sweep is active. Now we got the Bubble Shield cards. Jelly Shield. Hitting Shield Bash restores 150 scaling barrier health. Shield Dancing. Increase the knockback from Shield Bash by 8 units scaling. Fiendish Delight. Decrease the wind-up time of Shield Bash by 10% scaling, but lower its stun duration by 10% scaling. Planet Cradle. Increase your move speed by 8% scaling for 2 seconds after using Shield Bash. Lastly, the Evade cards. Kiting. Increase the distance of Evade by 3 units scaling. Royal Jelly. Heal for 50 per second scaling for 3 seconds after using Evade. Blitz Needle. Decrease Termillion's charge time by 15% scaling for 2 seconds after using Evade. Shadow of the Beast. Decrease the cooldown of Evade by 1 second scaling when passing through an enemy. Now, let me explain my decision making behind these cards. Health Capsule. Standard HP card. I feel most champions, especially Frontlines, should have a card like this. Spark of Life. Another staple card for tanks. I've come to appreciate cards like these as fillers. Iron Heart Attack. This was my last card in this concept. As mentioned, I do believe that every champion should have some decent filler cards. 5% DR isn't much, but this can prop up a Haven/Blast Shield purchase. Alternatively, Spiral Knights players might be inclined to hold off on an early game DR item due to this card. Capped out, the DR will be 7%, the same as a level 1 Haven/Blast. I wanted to avoid scaling the DR by the same 5%, as I feel a near constant 25% would feel oppressive. Keep in mind that unlike Train Terminus, Spiral Knight will have some ranged capabilities, and more evasion options. Still, by itself, I feel the DR is fairly light, hence for the secondary heal on the final hit. Capped out, this card will grant 7% DR for 2 seconds, and heal for 375 upon the final sword hit. Pumping Up. Train Term came out a bit for this one. Capped out, the card will grant you a 25% speed boost for 1 second. This card can stack with itself, so for about half a second, the Spiral Knight can double down on this card, provided they're hitting shots. This card intends to bolster Spiral Knight's melee capabilities by allowing them to keep up pace with speedier opponents. Now the Spin Sweep cards. Lion's Gate. This card is intended to bolster Spiral Knight's survivability after hitting multiple opponents with Spin Sweep. Capped out, they will receive 250 shields for each enemy hit. Ideally, this card is best played into an enemy brawl comp. The Phantom Mask. A simple cooldown reduction card. When capped, the cooldown of Spin Sweep goes from 10 to 7 seconds, which is a very short cooldown for a frontline. I could see this card comboing well with Spiral Knight's other Spin Sweep cards. Emergency Lockdown. This is another card with intended use as a filler. However, I could see it making its way into ult spam builds by fully capping it for 5% ult on each enemy hit. Operation Crimson Heart. This card intends to add a burst of movement when using Spin Sweep. I don't have an exact duration length, but imagine Spin Sweep being a quick 1-second animation. When capped, you can essentially turn Spin Sweep into a short-range dash. My only worry is that this card could be considered a must-pick, since it essentially gives you another movement skill. Now the Bubble Shield/Shield Bash cards. Jelly Shield. I wanted to avoid a boring bonus HP card to the shield, and thought of this card, offering a nice incentive for successful Shield Bash hits. Capped out, you will restore 750 shield health, which is a quarter of your barrier's HP. Shield Dancing. Spiral Knight typically wants to be up close and personal, but this card grants them a way to alleviate overwhelming pressure. Plus, it would open up some meme-worthy knockback builds. Fiendish Delight. I am very against cards that buff stunning abilities. However, I can see the windup on Shield Bash frustrating many players. Hence the give and take design of this card. Scaling the card will simultaneously decrease the windup time of Shield Bash, at the cost of reducing its stun duration. When capped, both the windup and stun duration will be 0.5 seconds. With the card capped, the primary use of Shield Bash would be for a quick interrupt of enemy skills, rather than a team follow-up. Planet Cradle. Speed boost cards are always solid. This card either allows Spiral Knight to close the gap after a Shield Bash, or bolster his retreat. Finally, the Evade cards. First is Kiting, a simple card to grant the user more distance on Evade. When capped, Evade will move you 45 units, which is a smidge further than a single Andro dash. Royal Jelly. This is the main card to use for self-healing on Spiral Knight. Originally, I had the healing scaled by 60, but given Evade's low cooldown, I felt that 60 was a bit much. When capped, the Spiral Knight will heal for 250 a second, for a total of 750 health over 3 seconds. Blitz Needle. I knew the charge time of 3 seconds is quite a long time in Paladins. This card grants the Spiral Knight access to a faster charging attack, at the cost of using Evade. When capped, the Termillion's charge attack will only take 0.75 seconds. Shadow of the Beast. This card is probably my favorite in this concept, taking inspiration from Zin's Fan the Flames card. Only difference being that the Spiral Knight deals no damage on evade. This would be a purely defensive card. When capped, the card will lower the cooldown of evade by 5 seconds when passing through any enemy. The idea is to cap this card out and intentionally chain parries together by dashing through opponents instead of away from them. I could see this card making for some intense mind games. Last up are Spiral Knight's talents. Talent 1 is Sprite Familiars. Your abilities are empowered by your battle sprites. Spin Sweep now summons a Dracon's Fire Barrier, summoning 2 Flame Orbs that circle you for 4 seconds. Enemies hit take 200 burn damage over 2 seconds. Evade is empowered by the Masquerade, placing you into stealth for 2 seconds. And your Seraphynx now heals you for 150 per second, while Bubble Shield is active. Talent 2 is Forge Fanatic. Spin Sweep now fires 6 Turb-Million projectiles around you. Enemies hit take 200 damage and are slowed by 30% for 2 seconds. Talent 3 is Clockwork's Defender. Bubble Shield gains a second frontal-facing barrier with 2,500 HP. This barrier takes 6 seconds to recharge from empty. Additionally, gain 15% move speed while Bubble Shield is active. Let's put a pin in this concept by discussing Spiral Knight's talents. The first is Sprite Familiars. Battle sprites, or pets, are a vital part of any knight's kit. Being introduced in the first set of missions, each battle sprite has unique abilities to empower your knight. This talent takes the most iconic aspect of each sprite and adds a slice of that to each of Spiral Knight's main abilities. The Dracon's Fire Barrier summons 2 fireballs that circle the knight. Perfect for swordplay, as it grants the knight access to bonus burning damage. In Paladins, it's no different. 100 DPS for 2 seconds is pretty low, but keep in mind the Spiral Knight can proc this multiple times. I also didn't want this aspect of the talent to overshadow the Forge Fanatic talent. The Masquerade's highlight ability is being able to place your knight in stealth for a short time. Again, same deal in Paladins. Of the benefits this talent provides, this is potentially the strongest, as it allows the Spiral Knight better opportunities to escape. The Seraphynx's notable skill is Heart Attack, arguably the best sprite skill in Spiral Knights. In the game, it marks enemies to drop additional hearts to restore your knight's HP. In Paladins, I figured a simple self-heal would keep the consistency of small buffs across this talent. As mentioned, my overall goal with this talent was to provide a slew of small benefits to each ability. This talent is for the Jack-of-all-trades knight. Talent 2 is Forge Fanatic. I wanted this talent to stand out from the Flame Barrier on Sprite Familiars, hence why there's a bonus slowing effect on enemies hit. This talent grants the Spiral Knight the opportunity for bonus damage, as well as some light combo potential with his team due to the slow. This talent is for the aggressive knight. The last talent is Clockwork Defender. I took a decent inspiration from Fernando, but I didn't want to copy-paste Aegis, as I find it to be one of the most boring talents in the game. Hence for the addition of a second shield, instead of simply bolstering your main one. This talent essentially grants Spiral Knight a Fernando shield, on top of their normal bubble shield. Do keep in mind that both shields are active at once. The low cooldown on this shield correlates to its low health pool. The overall goal with this talent is to have extra opportunities to cover your team, hence for the addition of the 15% speed boost while shield is active. However, due to the separate health pools of each shield, shield botting is not encouraged. We don't need a repeat of shield botting Nando. And that's my concept of the Spiral Knight if they were to make it into Paladins. What do you guys think? Overpowered, underpowered, fun, boring? Let me know down below. I once again want to mention that we have just kicked off the Spiral Knights LP over on the Jam channel, so if anything in this concept piqued your interest, be sure to check it out. Link will be in the pinned comment. Don't forget to clap that like button and laser down that sub button. Snatching the bell is also a great way to stay in the loop. As always, I'm YellowNinja, and peace.